And everybody, it's me, Cassie. I'm coming through. Welcome to my new space. I have been sitting here for the past couple weeks, growing so much in this season, in this time, and I was looking at my page and I was just like, I don't know. I need to switch up. I needed to change some things. I needed to refresh, I guess you could say. I think that's what you want to call it. I had to do something, and I finally decided on what you guys see now, and going in the path of just vlogging, showing up, and just having a story for you. It's not going to be each and every day, but having a story for you when it hits. And for this week, I have a story for you guys. I have a story for you guys. Let's come in and talk about this. The hiring process, right? I've done a couple blogs about this. And so if you haven't, I have a Substack, Sacred and Seen. You can catch some of the blogs that I put up there. Really good stuff. So let me just get that out the way, right? But I'm just like, y'all, I had to come on here and talk about this. So, I'm ready for my story time. Been going through this hiring journey since August 1st. Let me stop lying. August 1st is when I got laid off. I gave myself 2 weeks where I was just like, you know what? I need to recuperate from the BS that just let me go, basically. And let me just say, I'm not the one that's going to stand up here and badmouth a company, a person, or whatever. But what I will say is this. Out of the 12 years that I've spent in mental health, both places being kind of in those startup to mid-range type companies, both being in mental health, again, if I haven't said that, and for them to cause the amount of stress and dysfunction and toxic culture, workplace, ever in life, I was kind of relieved when I got laid off. It was unexpected, but I was relieved. And I gave myself about two good weeks to recuperate, to decompress, to see what lessons I needed to learn from that situation, all of that, right? And then I got back on it. So ever since then, I've been on it. And I even got down a rhythm where on most of the time, it's really on Thursdays, but Tuesdays and Thursdays, I tend to do a lot of focusing on applying for positions, right? And I use everything from LinkedIn to Indeed to Monster, ZipRecruiter, and then there's been some sites that been recommended, that were highly recommended for remote jobs, right? So been doing all those things, and I will spend anywhere from 3 to 6 hours nonstop, just sending, right? And at first, I was just applying to any and everything that I thought remotely sounded like something that I could do, have done, still can do, whatever, right? So that means I was applying to everything from admin all the way up to, director type positions, because those are the broad range of positions that I have held in the past, right? And what I started really realizing is that I had started getting some kickback as far as, when you get the automated email talking about, how they decided to go with other candidates or whatever, and things of that nature. Had to take a few assessments. I did some episodes about that too. But going through this whole process had opened up my eyes a lot. to hiring in this day and age. And I'm not even going to say in this day and age. When I say that, I'm talking about in the span of a decade or more, right? I know a lot of companies and things like that use ATS systems, and they use assessments and things of that nature to weed out, to be able to get down the pool, because I realize that hundreds of people typically sometimes will apply for a job, and it can be overwhelming for a person or even a team to be able to go through and look through every single resume and see if that person qualifies or doesn't qualify, and and then you're relying on your own judgment to do that, right? So they use these systems. But what I started discovering is that, I had revamped my resume, and, and it was looking really good. I thought it looked really good, right? And I am a big proponent of AI. And I'm sorry, I use ChatGPT and I use other AI tools, right? But the way that I utilize them with intentions and partnering with, okay? I collaborate with. I don't just put in there and say, hey, make up my resume. I've done this, this, and this. No, what I did was I took my resume, and after I looked at it, I thought it looked really good. I ran it through ChatGPT, my little AI assistant, Josie. She kicked back, let me know little minor things that I could tweak, and stuff like that. So it was cool. So I didn't have that many things that I needed to change, and I thought I did very, really well. So, even after she confirmed that I only needed to do little minor tweaks, I made those little minor tweaks, polished it up, sounded good to go. Started using that, and I was still getting some kickbacks. Then I started noticing, some of the other habits that I was having. And the thing is that how can I put this? Let me bring you in a little bit closer, okay? Typically, when you've been laid off, or, you lost a job all of a sudden, right? A lot of times, depending upon your situation, we typically, when we go start looking for other jobs, we start out with looking for jobs that, are similar to what we just left, right? And then sometimes, depending upon your circumstances, meaning outside, like your life, right? Bills, all that. When you start not hearing anything back, you start to open up what else you'll apply for, right? So then I have named it now, reactive applying. And I started seeing myself doing that because I was just looking for a quick response to, right? Looking for a quick response to something, anything that would bring me in the opportunity to, just get back to working, right? And so even that wasn't even working. There were some jobs that I, applied for knowing good and damn well, that it wasn't really something that I wanted to do, but it was something that I have done or could do. And, unemployment don't really be paying you like it should. You think about bills, and I was like, you know what, this format ain't working either. So going through this whole process, I've been learning things about myself, but also been learning things about the system. And what dawned on me is, like, when I started looking at it, I had a discussion with my little AI assistant again. And I was like, Josie, I'm starting to notice that I'm getting kickback from this, and this. And so then she made suggestions, and I told her, I said, I know about the ATS system, but I want to learn more about it, because apparently I'm missing something and things aren't connecting. Because I also had watched this TikTok person was, doing her thing with, telling you about remote jobs that are out here that are hiring and what they're hiring for. And then she would make mention throughout her live that she does resume writing and she has templates for this and that. And she was talking about the ATS system and stuff. I was like, hold up. I guess I need to learn more about this ATS system and how this is being used nowadays, right? Because I knew for some time that those types of systems had been being, like, companies have been using them, right? I just didn't know how heavily they use them now. And then I was like, okay, Josie, I said, catch me up on this ATS system stuff. Catch me up on it. Let me know where I can go to learn about it, things like that. Because what I'm starting to understand is when I look at my resume and I have up there great customer service as a skill, team management, leadership, organization, time management, all the commonly known terms that are used, right? But those are legit things that I did on a daily basis. Problem solving, critical thinking, like those types of things. I said, because something must be off. And I started looking at jobs that I would typically, really be a good suit for, and looking at the verbiage that they were using. And then I was looking at my resume, and then I was talking to my little AI assistant, and I was like, Josie, something just not making sense. That's when I said, catch me up on this ATS system stuff. How are companies using them now? How are HR teams using them now? Like, give me the spill, give it all to me. Where can I go to learn about this and things of that, right? So she broke it all down for me. I went, did my research, looked up some more stuff about the ATS system, and started putting stuff together, right? Within putting this stuff together, I started asking Josie, I was like, so what you're telling me is that companies are using the ATS system, which I know they use them to weed out, to thin out, right? And she was like, yes, that's what they do. And I said, okay. I said, but I feel like there might be times where they're missing out on candidates because, case in point, that's when I gave her the example. Just this job description here says XYZ. On my resume, I have this, and this. Now, tell me what's wrong with it, right? I said, because I have up here that, I'm really good at customer service, whatever the case may be. Here, they're talking about they're looking for somebody who's really good with customer success and all this. And then, Josie, she started comparing. She was like, well, here's the thing. With ATS keywords, this is what that company must have in there. So she told me to take and copy and paste the job posting or whatever, and which I did, and I put it up on there. And she said, well, this is what this company's keywords are for their ATS system. So she said, whereas on your resume you put customer service, it really correlates to when they're saying customer success or client success. I was like, so why not just keep it simple? I'm lost. And she, Josie laughed, and she was just like, here's the thing. And she broke down the ATS system even more. So going through this, I end up taking on and doing my own little project and really diving in deep with ATS systems, diving in deep about assessments, all of that. Guys, when I tell you I've been doing my research, I've been doing research for the last month, maybe month and a half, and coming up with, I now have a whole, it would be the equivalent of Excel spreadsheets. So I use Google Sheets. So I have a whole Google Sheet with all the commonly used, things, skills and stuff like that. And then what ATS systems or keywords, like just matching them up. So if you've got customer service, or you got really good customer service skills, you need to look out for these keywords, these key phrases, and you might need to go on your resume and change them. I did everything that would be under the umbrella of leadership, meaning from office management, administrative management, lead, any of those office types of jobs, receptionist, front desk, admin assistant, office manager. I even did a little bit of director type positions and stuff like that. And I broke it down now where I have a whole Google sheet on this, because it got to the point where I'm just like, so Josie, is it safe to say that you would definitely have to be switching up your resume or tailoring your resume for each job that you apply for? And in this, I just started developing, different, and I know it sounds crazy, but different spreadsheets, because I made myself a Google sheet with the jobs that I would apply for, how aligned was I with it, how much my resume matched with the job description, and just overall if it was in alignment with me, right? I started doing that and really started narrowing down. So I went from reactive applying to intentionally applying for jobs. I wrote down for myself, what are my top 3 to 5 priorities when it came to a job? Because this time around, I didn't want to just take anything just because I've done it before, whatever. It had to align with the things that were most important to me in this day and age of my life. And so when I started doing that is when I really actually started getting some feedback, right? I started getting some feedback. I started getting some calls and things like that. Now, let me go ahead and fast forward to the incident that happened this week. So I had got a phone call last week from another mental health practice. It is more of after I did my research, because I research every company, that calls me and wants to set up an interview. So I did my research, and I did look into it, and I did find out that this company, still a newer practice, not that big of a company yet, looking to expand and grow, as we all should, right? And having the conversation, with the owner, because that's who I was speaking with. She set up the interview for this past Monday at 11 a.m. I was really stoked. I was looking forward to it. I seen that all the research and all the little spreadsheets and stuff like that I was making and staying true to what I started doing with intentionally applying, it's starting to pay off. So y'all, let me bring you in close again. So Monday, my interview was at 11 a.m. I went and I logged onto my computer at 10:55 because I like being early. I don't care if it's virtual or not. I like being early. I signed on at 10:55. I said, okay, I don't really expect anybody to be on here until about 11, so it's cool. So 11 o'clock rolls around. Nobody signed on. So then I said, okay, they might be running behind from other, interviews if they had them set up or whatever. Cool. No problem. 11:05 rolls around. Nothing. 11:13? Still no one. So I pulled up the email. I was looking at it, making sure I wasn't on there on the wrong day or time, stuff like that. And at that time, I decided to send a quick email to the individual just saying, hey, I just wanted to see if we were still on for today, or if we needed to reschedule, whatever. I'm on, I'm logged on now. No one has showed up just yet. Didn't hear anything. Sent it. Didn't hear anything. I'm still waiting. I had decided at this point in time that I was just going to wait until the 11:30. Our time block was from 11 to 11:30. I said, I'm going to wait here and I'm going to see. Now, here's where the other side of me, who's been on that side of hiring, has been playing that HR type of role, doing those things, and I'm looking at it from that lens. Sometimes some people, I'm not going to say that I was one of those ones, because I didn't. I valued people's time, and I was looking at it from that perspective because I had heard stories before from people who were in that hiring position, right? and how they would just have people waiting. They would have people waiting until they finish eating their lunch, until they finish this or they finish that, or whatever the case may be. And I'm just like, and they would have some people wait upwards of 15 minutes after the, interview time, right? So I'm just like, I hope that's not, how this individual is, but I do know of people and companies that do that. And to me, I think that's completely disrespectful. It shows that you don't value somebody's time. But the funny thing is, as a company, you want people to value your time, right? So I was just, was thinking of it from that lens. I was like, oh, is she one of them? Or, then again, maybe something came up. She works in a mental health practice. She's trying to build it up. She's doing this. She's doing that. I said, this could be a couple things. She might be burnt out. And I get it, might be burnt out, might have had some kind of crisis with, a patient, something, right? And I just let things be. I did do a follow-up email yesterday, just letting them know that, giving them grace, letting them know I understood that life happens sometimes and that I was still interested, right? And I know a lot of you guys are going to say, well, why are you going to be interested in someone who didn't value your time? Because I still also understand from a human aspect, like a real human aspect of things, that life does happen. Things do happen. Sometimes people do not do things just out of malicious intent, okay? I do understand that, right? However, I also, I said to myself, I'm going to send this. And if I still don't hear anything, I'm putting them in that category to where even if they called me now, I am going to have to kindly decline, even though my circumstances call for me to do otherwise. But what I will not do is continue to be disrespected, and devalued. Okay. So even with giving them grace, I sent that email yesterday. As of today, it's Wednesday now. I still have not heard anything from them. And I just wanted to come on here just to give you guys that spill, because that's what's right now currently going on in my life, is just the fact of, on top of rebuilding and repositioning myself and transitioning and things like that, the big thing right now has been, searching for a job, being on this side of the fence, being that job seeker. And the things that I have encountered, experienced, the things that I've been learning, the things that I've been teaching myself, the things that I see, it is mind-blowing, like mind-blowing, the things that we put each other through. And that's what I really, came on here to talk about, because that experience alone was a first for me. I have never, had that type of experience, nor have I ever had that type of experience where it's taken me since August 1st till now, and this is November, to even start getting phone calls. Mind-blowing. But I do know, once I had started intentionally applying to jobs and putting to work the things that I was discovering, things did change a little bit for me. And I am thankful for that. I have had another interview with another, it was another mental health place. It was more of a crisis mental health place. Had an interview with them. I had another place reach out to me. So I know what I was doing once I made those transitions and really started getting into it and learning the system, and just putting together and piecing together the things that I was doing. Yes, it takes time, guys. I swear it does, but it does not take up as much time as we think, because when we're just reactively applying to jobs, that is more exhausting than really taking your time and intentionally applying to jobs that are in alignment with what your top 3 to 5 priorities are, right? And I get it. Like, I know bills are there and all these things, because I'm just going to keep it 100 with you. I'm at the point now where it is a possibility that I might lose my house. It's a possibility that I might lose my car. Bills are behind. I am managing them the best that I can, given what I'm given, right? And yes, I can go out here and do the Ubers, the Lyfts, all these gig jobs, but unfortunately for me, my car, the tags on my car is suspended. So I don't think it would be wise of me to be standing up here doing Uber or Lyft, to be driving somebody around and get pulled over, and then I can't continue that ride or whatever. That would be the most embarrassing thing ever. But I'm just going to keep it real with you guys. I do understand that bills are piling up. We stress out about those things. But what else this has done for me has really activated what true faith is, and having faith in the fact that your situation is going to turn around, that it is going to get better, and that no matter the circumstances that you left, that, let you go, whatever the case may be, you know what? That is what it is. It's in your past. Take what you can from it, learn from it, and keep it pushing, because that's exactly what I've done. I can honestly say that with the faith that I have is what's holding me together to keep pushing forward, to keep making sure that what I am doing is truly going to be in alignment for my next, my next phase in life. I'm starting to look at things a little bit different. I'm sorry, but I guess, I just didn't always take things always seriously with setting myself up for my future. And that's my own problem, and I will take full accountability for that. But here we are, and part of my top priorities for me going forward into this job search, position that I'm in, is definitely making sure that it falls in complete alignment with me, and I'm just not taking a job just to be taking it. And that I'm taking it, with the initiative that it's going to set me up for also my future, because alongside doing all of this, I have been building my own business. It's just that my business right now is not producing enough income to be able to say, oh, I don't have to be looking for a job. And that's okay. You know what I mean? I'm in a space right now because of this time period, that my business itself is in a really good space. There's not really a lot of pressure in it from the building aspect of it. So, getting a job that's going to be able to fund and help me recuperate where I'm at financially right now, and be able to help me, further push along my own business, that's important to me. It's important that I find a job that is not going to stand up here and stress me out every single day. And I know and I understand that every job is going to have its stress points, right? But I'm going to be honest with you guys. The stresses that I went through, especially from the previous job that I was at, was something that I'm going to honestly say nobody should ever have to experience. And I know each and every one of us has our own experience to talk about. And by all means, I think you should share it. But in this situation, I just felt like no. But I just wanted to come through just to kind of talk about this whole job hunt experience of mine, and me experiencing the no-show from the interviewer for the first time ever. This is the first time I've ever had to where, the interviewer didn't show up, and to this day, 2 days later, didn't have the courtesy to stand up here and send any kind of correspondence, which tells me, and it kind of triggered me too, in the fact that people really do lack communication skills. And I don't even know why some of us put it on our resume, because at the end of the day, a lot of these companies, a lot of these people that are in these positions really do lack communication. They lack the skills on how to deal with human beings. And it is sad. And that is what I wanted to come through and talk about, because this is crazy that you have all these things and all these jobs that are supposed to be out here, right? But in all actuality, they rely more on running your resume through an automated system, so they're not really entirely doing the work themselves. If you ask me for my own opinion, which I did give my own opinion in one of the episodes I did with rehumanizing the hiring process, I'm going to say this again. These ATS systems, these assessments and things like that need to be strictly used as a tool. Stop allowing it to kick out people who honestly might be well qualified for your job position that you have posted. And that is what I can say to that. Definitely stay tuned, because with me doing all the research that I've done and things like that, I am putting together a small workshop that I'm going to have soon, because I think it's going to be very valuable for a lot of people who are getting back out here in this job market, especially for a lot of people who've been at jobs for years upon years and haven't had to stand up here and deal with the whole job market scene. But definitely something that I'm going to be working on to put together. But I wanted to come through and share my experience, because I was damn sure baffled by this shit. It didn't make sense to me. Like, no communication at all. Like, just complete. It was like one of those no call, no shows. And it just, like, it really, really did baffle me. I was like, did this really just happen? So, I think a lot of us out here have a lot of work to do. But I am glad that y'all came through just to listen to me ramble. It is what it is. There's going to be those moments where I'm going to just pull it together. But definitely, guys, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. And just continue to follow me. I'm going to have a lot more going on. Like, I'm going to just let y'all follow me through my boring but exciting life. And just hoping that, you guys overall will be able to learn something, just even from my mistakes, So, yeah, I'm going to get out here and share. Well, share as much as I can. But, yeah, I'm going to get out here and share. I'm going to let you guys know how this work thing goes, this job seeking stuff goes. That's going to be probably that main focus a little bit for right now. But... I'm going to keep you posted. Let you know if another one schedules an interview and doesn't show. Because then we're going to have a big problem. But until next time, guys, I always say this. Just keep building. But make sure that you're building with intention. And just keep thriving out there. All right? Love you guys. Till next time.